Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Edutopia session. Today, we're talking about reclaiming your time with AI. If you've joined us for an Edutopia session before, we are glad you're here again. And if this is your first session, welcome. My name is Madison. I'm on the Edutopia community team, and I live in Idaho. So we're going to kick things off by asking you to choose a word describing how you feel about AI in education. So I'm going to give you a moment to look at this emotion wheel and come up with your word. And when you have it, you can drop it in the chat. While you're sharing your words, I'll tell you more about who we are. Edutopia is a nonprofit organization. It's a part of the George Lucas Educational Foundation, which was founded by the award-winning filmmaker in 1991. Our mission is to shine a spotlight on what works in education. So we want to help educators elevate the strategies that work for them and then spread the word so that even more educators can benefit from them. And you can keep sharing your words in the chat. Here are a few members of our team who you're going to see in the chat tonight. I want to thank Alex, Laura, also Laura, John, and Will, who are educators and Edutopia facilitators. They'll be helping to answer questions that come up in the chat and amplify anything that we're sharing. If you'd like to ask a question of the panelists today, please use the Q&A feature on your Zoom screen. And so just a few more housekeeping notes. This is a webinar format, so mics are muted and cameras are turned off, but you're welcome to keep engaging in the chat. Please feel free to seek clarity on anything that comes up during the session or to use Zoom's Q&A feature to ask questions. We are recording the event, and we'll send you a link to that recording in an email tomorrow. So here's what you can expect from this session. I'm going to introduce you to our panel and host, then we'll hear from them. First, we'll have questions from our host. Our panelists will demo some AI tools, then we'll open it up to questions from all of you. Okay, so here are our panelists and hosts for tonight. Paige Tutt is a host and moderator for this session. She's a co-editor of Edutopia's The Wired Classroom newsletter. She writes and curates content on innovative teaching practices, including technology integration. Michelle Manning is an instructional technology integration specialist with over 30 years of experience. She focuses on ensuring equitable access to learning opportunities and using technology as a digital co-teacher to enhance curriculum. Eric Cross is a middle school STEM teacher at Albert Einstein Academies and an adjunct professor at the University of San Diego, specializing in technology, learning, and science methods. Eric also hosts the Science Connections and Beyond My Years podcasts. Jen Roberts is a teacher with more than 25 years of experience teaching English language arts and social science in grades 7 through 12. She is the co-author of Power Up, Making the Shift to One-to-One Teaching and Learning. So thank you all for joining us to talk about reclaiming time with AI. I'll pass it to Paige.
Thank you so much, Madison. Hi, everyone. I want to thank everyone initially so much for being here tonight. And I want to start by level setting really quickly that the aim of this panel isn't to convince anyone that AI is something every educator should embrace. That's a decision educators need to make for themselves. Instead, we're here to really explore the possibilities and help you get a clearer sense of how you might make the best use of these tools in ways that actually support your teaching practice, especially for those of you who are interested, but perhaps feeling a little bit nervous or unsure about how to get started. During the introductory activity that Madison just led, I was reading some of the words you all sent in to describe how you're feeling about AI in education. Inadequate, curious, confused, excited, pensive, energetic. Eric, I want to start with you. Then Jen, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. We're seeing a really wide range of perspectives from excitement to hesitation. What would you say to teachers who are feeling a little bit apprehensive about bringing AI into their practice?
I think all those feelings that they have are totally valid. And just like with any breakthrough or new technology that we're going to put in front of kids, I think it's really important that we proceed with cautious skepticism to see, okay, I want to try this out. I want to check out and see what's happening. But at the same time, I have questions. And that's, we as educators, that's what we do. We interrogate ideas, interrogate thoughts. And so it's important to have that. And if you're a teacher, you have reservations, I think that's important because we're still in the very beginning phases of all this. At the same time, what we're seeing right now is pretty much just as disruptive as when the internet happened. And we're in the very beginning phases of it. So even if you're on the much more conservative side, I encourage you, and part of being here is doing that, to continue to explore and educate yourself and check out the landscape. And so at least if we're critical, we are informed about it. And if you are super forward and really excited and jazzed, I think someone said beast mode in the chat, which that was awesome. We also have to have those people who keep us grounded. I say, like, every kite needs a string. You need both for it to do what it needs to do.
Jen, to the teacher feeling apprehensive about AI, what would you say to them?
It might go away. I mean, it might just disappear and be gone and not be a thing you have to worry about anymore, right? So if it's gone, then it'll be fine. And if it's not gone, if it doesn't go anywhere, how are your students going to be prepared for life without knowing anything about it, right? So I think as educators, we always have to look to the future. We always have to think 5, 10, 15 years down the line. Where are our students going to be, the world they're going to be living in, and what tools, skills, experiences can we give them that is going to best prepare them to cope with life as adults after they leave, the womb of our academic spaces?
I'm going to jump right in here with a big question that might be on some people's minds tonight. In my reporting, as I speak to educators who are actively navigating this rapidly evolving ed tech landscape, I keep hearing continually about the importance of addressing the fundamental why behind tech adoption. Michelle, in your role, you often recommend tools to teachers that can enhance their practice. Why do you believe AI has value for them?
There is so much that AI has to offer, not just the teachers and the students. It's converting pencil and paper to something that is accessible, something that we can differentiate. We can meet our students' different needs in our classroom. So technology has so much to offer to transform education, to transform learning, to transform teaching for everybody involved.
Eric, any thoughts?
I think going back to what Jen said, this is something that has the opportunity to do something really powerful, but at the same time, we need to see how we implement it and how schools adopt it, and if it's something that I think are ready to embrace wholly. Education is a very complex mechanism, and there's different pockets of folks and schools that are really ready to go after it, and then there are places that don't want to at all. And we're seeing a lot of changes in our education landscape right now. So I think it has the power to really transform what we're doing with teaching and learning in the classroom. But we need to have a lot of these conversations. I think publicly, like as a country, and as globally. I mean, looking at our chat, everyone's here. But I also think that when I'm in the classroom in 10 years from now, I think it has potential to look completely different in ways that I can't even imagine. And that's why I'm really excited to be part of these conversations.
Jen, I'd love to hear from you as well.
I think we have to acknowledge that we're not going to explain everything about AI in an hour. We're not going to solve every problem that AI has created in an hour. We're not going to get into everything that AI can do for us in an hour. This is obviously a really big thing, and the point of this webinar was reclaiming time, right? So that is going to be our focus, and I'm seeing like a lot going on in the chat there's definitely big questions there that definitely need to be addressed. So the focus here being on like, how is it impacting our time? Where is that going? What are we doing with it? That's what we can address today. But Eric's right. This is absolutely a very large ongoing conversation that you have to be having in your schools and in your districts and with your students and with your parents. I joked earlier about it going away. It's not going away.
I want to pivot here a little bit. Jen, you're quite familiar with a variety of different AI tools, and you've written about that a little bit for Edutopia. So I want to address this to you to start, and then I can open up it a little bit. How can teachers sort of identify the parts of their workflow that would benefit most from AI assistance? What was your process like personally?
I think it's about inviting AI to the party. It's sort of whatever I'm doing, I have to pause and wonder, like, could AI help me with that? Could I use a thought partner here? I have a long history of collaboration with lots of other teachers and student teachers and things like that. So I'm used to talking to other adults about my process and what I'm doing. Um, and now I'm used to asking AI as well. Be a thought partner with me on this. Talk to me about this. Can you help me do this faster? Hey, there's this crazy thing I want to do that I normally wouldn't bother doing because it would take me too much time, but maybe you could help me with it. And often the answer is yes. Often the answer is, yeah, I can do what you're asking me to do. Like, I can write Google Apps script for you, Jen. And I'm like, good, because I can't. So it can do things that are beyond my immediate capabilities, and then I use those things to save me time. Or more accurately, I use those things to do more than I otherwise would have. I think there's this misnomer that AI is saving anyone anytime. It's not. It might be helping me do things more quickly in some cases, but generally it's helping me do more with the time I have. Right. So, oh, wow, I just saved 20 minutes by being able to use AI to do that. Now I can do these other 3 things with AI as well. And suddenly it's 2 hours later and I've gone down a rabbit hole, but I've created something amazing with the help of my AI assistant.
I'd love to kind of jump off that thread and hear what Michelle and Eric think about this. Are there any sort of common misconceptions about using AI to enhance your practice, or sort of unrealistic expectations people might have going in? Michelle, we can start with you.
Okay. It's such a huge word, which I'll address it in a little bit, but I think a lot of people think AI is going to take over instead of AI being a co-teacher. We have to tell AI what to do and how it could be helpful for us. And like Jen referenced, it's not going to give us 20 extra minutes, but it helps us redirect and focus our time to things that we may not have been able to give as much attention to. So whether it's doing some of your grading or your lesson planning, whatever it might be, it'll free you up hopefully for more contact time with your students or the things that matter most in your classroom.
Eric?
I agree. What it's just practically leaving my students about an hour ago, what it's allowed me to do is be a better version of myself as a teacher. And this is one of the challenges that many educators experience. There's only so much time in the classroom, and there's all of this great pedagogy and educational research that we want to apply. But if you gave every bit of feedback early and often that you needed to, your day would start at 8 a.m., 7 a.m., 6 a.m., and it would end whenever you just fell asleep.
It wouldn't.
And you still wouldn't have finished everything that you need to do. And so some of the tools allow, as Jen was saying, allow me to be a better teacher. They allow me to do the best practices. I can create better scaffolds. I can implement better modifications. I can create various lexile levels for reading. I can interact and have a conversation about a student that I might be challenged by, and I can have the tool become an ed researcher or a child psychologist and give me suggestions on sentence frames or starters to have difficult conversations. So now I have a thought partner. So there's so many different ways that I can use it, but I think what it can do is really enhance what you're already doing. And then, like most technologies, a lot of times the time that you give back, we tend to fill with something else. And so you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, Eric's right. We're never done. We just stop. And with AI, at the point I stop, I've gotten further.
I want the 3 of you to think about the overwhelmed teacher, the one who's underwater with work. It might be somebody who's in this webinar tonight. It might be someone who's watching the webinar in a few days. Is there anything AI can do to help them, and where should that teacher start? I want to start with you, Jen, and then we can sort of pivot to Eric and Michelle as well.
I mean, if you're really underwater, it probably means you have like a huge backlog of grading. Or maybe you have a new unit coming up that you haven't planned anything for. And AI can help with those things. It can help you create materials. Eric's going to demo a great tool that'll help you create materials to move forward into that unit with some confidence. It can help with assessment. My district is paying for a tool that has AI suggested scores, and that allows me to read my students' work and give them that feedback faster so that I'm not spending quite as much time on that aspect of my job. But there's a lot of ways it can help. It is a time investment up front to learn a little bit, to jump into a tool. And I think I've even seen it go by in the chat, people, giving ideas and suggestions, and other people commenting like, wow, I never thought I could use it to do that. And so sometimes just knowing what it could do for you is the first step to feeling empowered to use it in ways that'll help you.
Eric, I'd love to pass to you.
Yeah, I like that question. There's a learning or a skill set of there's a schema of using AI that we have to develop. And once you have it, once you understand how it works and how to use it, then you can kind of take questions like what you asked about, I'm overwhelmed. And you could put that as a prompt and ask questions. I'm an overwhelmed teacher working in this area. These are my biggest challenges. Help me prioritize or create solutions for me to be able to have balance. And going back to that thought partner, which a lot of people seem to like in the chat, now I'm having a conversation back and forth, and I'm kind of reflecting and thinking through some ideas and strategies. This is a way that goes beyond any one particular tool that's out there, whether it's helping with literacy or math or creating a lesson plan. Now you're kind of taking your thinking and you're putting it inside out, and then you're getting feedback on your own thinking. And when you've done that enough times, you take that same skill of talking to it and you transfer it to other things. And then you find that you start transferring to a lot of different things. And I think once an educator learns how to do that, which is Jen said, takes some practice, you got to get familiar with it. Then it kind of opens up a whole new Pandora's box of all kinds of things that you can do. And yeah, so I'll pause and let Michelle share.
Yeah, it is so overwhelming and there is so much that it can do. So for the overwhelmed teacher, I would say start very small with what you already have. You don't have to turn it into a lesson with your students. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Take what you already have and let AI be your co-teacher and digitize it. And then once it's digitized, it could do some of the grading, some of the feedback. So starting really small, and I'll be addressing some of that in a little bit, but it's at your comfort level. Don't look at whoever's across the hall or you see online all these great things they do. Where you're comfortable, that's where you get started.
Michelle, we've heard from lots of teachers in our community, particularly about this question of balance. How can teachers really ensure a sense of balance between using AI while maintaining the sort of really important human elements of their practice in the classroom?
Well, think of it as you're a puppeteer. AI isn't going to do anything without you directing it. So if it's a marionette or a puppet, so you're always in control. So that's what AI is going to work for you. You're driving the car and telling it where to go. It's just helping you along the way. And I see some questions in the chat I'll address quickly. Digitize, meaning when I said digitize it, instead of doing a pencil and paper test, turning it into a computer-based test. Not just a state assessment, but whatever it's a homework, an exit ticket, a do now, those little things that you're spending class time going over your do nows, you're spending class time going over your homework. Now with AI, it'll grade those for you. It'll make those digital for you, freeing up class time for more instruction or more review. So I hope I answered that from the chat.
Jen, I kind of want to ask you a quick question. You had spoken several weeks ago and you talked about the misconception of people, I believe it was you, thinking that using AI as part of your practice is cheating almost. I'd love if you could sort of speak to that and dispel that.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously great concern among educators that students will use AI to cheat, and that is a valid concern. But that sort of somehow got transferred over to teachers. And that's, I think, a false equivalency, right? There's a lot of things teachers get to do that kids don't get to do. For example, I can borrow a lesson plan from my colleague and literally go to her Canvas page and copy and paste it onto my Canvas page and teach that lesson. And that is not plagiarism, right? Like I'm not in trouble for that. That's actually me doing a good thing, right? I'm supposed to collaborate with my colleagues and work with them. So there's a lot of things that we as teachers get to do. We get to use an answer key. We get to so I think it's not about like I'm somehow cheating by using AI. I think of it as I'm doing the absolute best I can for my students. And if the AI is going to help me teach a better lesson or provide a better scaffold or provide better differentiation, then I think it's malpractice if I'm not doing those things or using it to help me do those things, right? It's using your resources. It's making sure that you're delivering the best education you can to your students. I had a student, he kind of called me out the other day. I'd recently busted him for spending 19 seconds on a 3-paragraph answer. And I said, you can't do that. You can't just use AI to do your work for you. And he said, how come you get to use AI and we don't? And he happened to have the assignment page open on his screen, and I kind of just leaned over and pointed to the link I'd given him for AI feedback. And I said, like, look, right here, I gave you a link to get AI feedback on your writing. He's like, oh, yeah, I didn't look at that. So the the idea that I'm not forbidding my students to use AI. I'm actually using, Magic School and Magic Student to provide tools for them that are student facing, that they can use legitimately to help them with their work. I just don't want them to pass off AI work as their own. But yeah, it's a false equivalency. Teachers need to do the absolute best we can for our students. And if AI can help someone do a better job teaching, then go for it.
Michelle, you're often introducing people to AI tools for the first time. I'm curious if you've heard that as well.
Absolutely. I'm also answering in the chat too. There's definitely so many tools that you probably already have that you don't realize are AI. So you don't have to look at learning a new platform. You can use some of the tools that you already have to help you get started.
Eric, any last thoughts there?
Going back to what Jen said, one of the things that, like, the false equivalency is that we're already certified. We know what we're doing, and we have to trust our own judgment when we're using these tools. That if I am going to use a tool to expedite scaffolding for a student, like, that's okay, because I'm able to do what's best for a student. I know that I know how to do it. I don't need to prove that to anybody. I know that I have that skill set, and we need to be confident in that. And I think sometimes in the back of our heads, and this is totally normal for us, is that with any generational shift or new technology, if we didn't grow up with it, there's kind of like sometimes this pushback. Like, we did it a different way. Now something makes it easier. The calculator did that. There was kind of some reluctance, and just a lot of times, just because it's different. I'm not talking about the philosophical and the bigger questions. I'm just kind of talking about the human inside of us that's just like, this is different. It's not how I did it. And our students are focusing on skill development, and that's what we don't want them to shortcut. So the tool exists. It's great. But as they're writing, if they shortcut that, they're not developing their skill of critical thought, of expressing themselves, of communication. And so when we get into those conversations, I usually tell them, hey, do you play sports? And a lot of them play soccer. And I say, does the ref have the same rules as the players? Are they allowed to go where the players go and walk around? And can they go out of bounds? And they're like, no. And I was like, because we have different roles, just like in sports. There's different roles. And usually they go, okay, all right, that makes sense.
That's a great metaphor, Eric. I'm
Yeah.
stealing that one.
We're going to start to transition to the next part of our night where the panelists will take over for a little bit. Any lingering questions you might have, just a reminder, there will be a Q&A portion shortly, but first our panelists are each going to do a live demonstration, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to hand over the floor to Michelle to start, who's going to talk a little bit about AI that's already embedded in platforms you may be using and how to leverage it.
Okay, everybody can see my screen? We're good? Yep, okay. So AI does not have to be one more thing on your plate. It's a tool that you can use to reclaim your time, get some of your nights and your weekends back. So actually, TCEA posted this blog today, and they talked about the steps of implementing AI in education. I think a lot of us feel like we have to jump down to the end, but we don't. It's where you're comfortable and starting small. So AI, I mentioned before, is a really big word. It's only 2 letters, but it means so many different things. Whether you're a teacher, administrator, a student, it could be very overwhelming knowing where to start. So AI has 2 parts. There's the teacher facing and the student facing. I'm going to focus on the teacher facing AI first. I feel like that's a good place to get started. You have more control, and it'll be your digital co-teacher. So there are a lot of things that AI can do to make your day more efficient. These are just some of the many ways that AI can help you as your digital co-teacher. And the ones that are circled are the ones that I'm going to focus on. So there are a lot. I saw in the chat, people were calling out all of these amazing platforms that are now being released at lightning speed, designed to help educators and embed AI. However, it can be very overwhelming because it's another tool, another platform that you have to learn. If you're ready for any of these, they're great, they're helpful. I've used some of them, they're phenomenal. But if you're not there yet, if you need something that's more manageable, start with what you already know. Think about the platforms that you're comfortable with, that you're already using, and let them help you. The ones that we use, I'm in Smithtown on Long Island in New York. So the platforms that my district has that I mostly use with my teachers is Formative, Quizzes, Kami, and Edpuzzle. They all have AI embedded right in the platform to help you. You could either enhance your existing content or generate new content. So I suggest, like I mentioned earlier, transferring your pencil and paper activities, whether it's your do now, your exit ticket, start on those low stakes activities and then work up to your assessment. And it could help you with all of these different tasks that are part of your day that are so time consuming. So looking at Formative, right there on the home page, you can upload your existing content. You can upload your Google Slides presentation. Take your Google Slides and it will turn it into a homework, an exit ticket, or a quiz. If you are support staff or you have support staff, you can share your lessons with them and then they can go ahead and generate content to use with their students. So you don't have to search teacher paid teacher or Google. If you run out of resources, these will create it for you. So informative, it will auto generate passages and questions to go along with these passages. It will generate hints. You can't run around the room and prompt students, oh, you need to have common denominators. The AI will generate hints for the students to utilize so that they continue through the lesson. It's so important that students not only know what the right answer is, but they need to know why the wrong answers are wrong. So the embedded AI will generate answer explanations so the feedback is even more meaningful. If they're doing their homework, they're just getting questions or just putting down answers. Let it be self-graded. Let them get that immediate feedback and they know if the answers are right or wrong. And grading, we've a lot in the comments. A lot of these tools will do some grading for you. Of course, you put eyes on anything before it goes out to the students. It's not just putting it out there. You can edit it, you can modify it. Quizzes. Quizzes has released a lot of AI. It has all the same features that I just mentioned in Formative, where you could take your existing content, leave it there for the students to review, or turn it into a quiz, homework, exit ticket. It will also generate brand new content. I need another passage for main idea supporting detail. Make it sound like Taylor Swift. Let the students have fun with it. It will generate it for you. And in addition to the flashcards and answer choices and explanations like Formative has, quizzes will also differentiate or enhance the curriculum or the content as well to make it meaningful, different grade levels, enrichment, fast finishers, whatever you need. Kami, upload your existing files in Kami. They have an AI feature too. So if you already have a test or a quiz, a lot of my teachers are downloading the release questions for the New York State assessments. And Kami will read the questions that are already on that Google Doc and digitize it, turn it into multiple choice questions and grade it for you. The students get the feedback. You still get all this data. You're still getting the information that you need, but it's saving time from the actual grading and the students get that feedback. If you have a reading passage, you could upload that to Kami and their AI will generate questions for you as well. Edpuzzle even has teacher assist, where if you upload your video into Edpuzzle, it will generate the questions for you, short response, multiple choice, and it will also auto grade. And you see in the dashboard all of their answers. You have all the information you need before they even walk into your classroom. So there are a lot of pros and cons. So in the beginning, it does take time to sit down and learn the tools. However, you're saving all that time on the other end. You're getting better learning outcomes. The students are getting more feedback and the work is more meaningful and you can create a more engaging environment. So don't be overwhelmed with everything that there is in AI. Start very small with your comfort level. A lot of these platforms like quizzes, Google Quizzes AI, and you could take their little certification course and learn on your own and it'll save you so much time. So
Thank you so much,
I think I have some questions at the end.
I think we're going to move right along into Eric, who's going to start talking to us about differentiated resources and activities with DFIT. The floor is yours, Eric.
Michelle, that was awesome. I think we were all taking notes on that one. The tool that I wanted to share has been my workhorse, and I've used it pretty frequently, and I like it for teachers. There was someone in the chat that asked, are these tools free? Does it cost money? And I'll share about that in the end. What Diffit does is it allows me to do what I said earlier. It allows me to apply the best teaching practices in terms of literacy, and it makes that lifting a lot easier for me. So what it will do is differentiate a variety of text, videos, whether it's your own, it'll even create its own for you. The website is pretty simple, and I'll drop you a link in a little bit. Once you go in, you can pick any topic, you could choose the grade level, and it'll adjust it by Lexile level. And you'll see some overlap with some of these AI tools and what they offer. You can also look at books, videos from YouTube, article links, any of those things. And so I'm just going to demo it. And the link, the very basic beginning one, lets you do literally anything. So you can type something in. I typed in photosynthesis. Lots of folks say they love Diffit. That's awesome. I teach 7th grade. So I want to create some content on Diffit, photosynthesis. I can align it by standards. Here's the reading level in English, but I can also change the language. And do I want an informational text or a fictional text? Now, I'm a science teacher who really believes in interdisciplinary teaching and learning. Here's one of the things that I do. I'll take photosynthesis and make it a fictional text and share it with my ELA team. Now they're reading about photosynthesis in their class, and they're transferring that knowledge into my science class. So now we're kind of working together, and they don't have to do any of the extra work for it. So I'll just click informational text and click generate resources. While this is going on, it's creating an article for my students to read, along with vocabulary list, short answer questions, multiple choice questions, and a summary. So here you can see I have the adapted reading passage. This is one of the nice things, is I can click on this and I can change the text length by paragraph. I can add and remove content. I can adjust the writing style, the tense. I can even look at the sources. This is one of the really neat things, and this is something that people are often concerned about with AI. It shows where it got the sources from for the article that it generated. And if I wanted to revise it, I can edit the sources and remove certain sources. If I don't want to use the Wikipedia one, I can have that taken out. So all of the sources that are on here are the sources that were used to generate the content. As I scroll down, I have a summary of the article that it created, vocabulary words, multiple choice questions, short answer questions, open-ended prompts, and then I can create student activities. So if I scroll up to the top, I can click here on forms, and I can create a Google form quiz. And I don't want to have the summary on there. Maybe I'll just, well, we'll leave the summary, but I'm going to take off maybe the vocab list and the adapted reading passage, and I'm going to click export. And now what it's doing behind the scenes is it's creating a Google form for me, importing everything into it, creating the grades, making it set up for auto grade. And when I click open Google form, what I should see, there we go, is I should see my quiz ready to go as a check for understanding with my students. And the grades are already in there. It's already set up for 1 point. I just have to deploy this to my students. Now, the big thing, I need to obviously go back and look through all of this, verify it for accuracy, but this is really going to do 80% of the work. Now, I could have sat down and written all of this. I could have, but I am much more of an educational DJ than an MC. And just for my non-hip hop heads out there, an MC writes lyrics and sings. A DJ takes other people's songs and then makes new songs out of them. And that's how I am a lot of times with my curriculum. I'll take curriculum and adapt it to my students and mix it up and make it my own. And I'm not going out and writing curriculum because I'm in the classroom full time. And that's a lot. I'd be doing that all day, just like many of you. Now, it doesn't just stop with making its own articles. What it's also able to do is take articles from websites. So here's one. I mean, you might have known this, but did you know peeing is contagious with chimpanzees? One does it, the other one wants to do it too. Same thing with 7th grade students. This article in Science News, I've taken it, imported it, and then it's adapted it. And because I have students that speak multiple languages in my classroom, I can take it and translate it into a variety of languages. And this takes me seconds. This would have taken me so much time to adjust the Lexile levels or adjust the languages for my students. The last thing is video. So I'm teaching life science right now, and there's a great science, well, it's not really a science channel, but it's called Slow-Mo Guys, and they take videos of things in slow motion. And this is a video of tattooing in slow motion on some ballistic gel to see how it works. And my students love this, are really interested in it. So as they watch it, I just take the video, I put it into Diffit, and then it will create the adapted reading passage from the transcript. It'll create a summary, multiple choice questions, vocabulary words. It'll extract all of that in about 30 seconds. And so I've done all of these things in the span of 5 minutes. And now I'm spending about 10 minutes or 15 minutes going through it and adjusting it and modifying it to make sure it's ready to be in front of my students. And then the last thing, after you've done all of this, the student activities, is if you click on this, there are a ton of student activities that import directly into Google Slides. There's 3-2-1 charts, there's CER, there's vocab lists, we have FRAIR models, we have Edu protocols that are in there. There's so many different resources that you can use. And now I've just gotten a lot of time back. And these are things that I wish I would have always done. But now because of tools like this, I can do it with all of my literacy activities. So that's Diffit. And shortly, I think we have a link that I'll drop in that'll give you 3 months of the premium service for free. Oh, there it is. 3 months for free. And you just click on that and you get 3 months of premium Diffit to try out. That should last you through the school year.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you so much, Michelle. Just a quick reminder, we're flying through these demos, but you can go back and rewatch them when you receive the recording. Jen is going to bring us home with our last demo. If you haven't used or met Claude before, you're about to, and you're in for a treat. Take it away, Jen.
So first, can I just say how much it warms my English teacher heart to hear the science teacher talking about literacy? It's so wonderful, Eric. Thank you. Thank you for talking about literacy in science and for showing us Diffit. Diffit is truly amazing with what it can create for you. It's another really great example of AI doing things that I never probably would have taken the time to do by hand, but because you could do them with Diffit, it's going to just sort of blow you away with how much you can do, how quickly. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and on my screen you should see, yeah, go ahead, share. Okay, so hopefully you are seeing this lovely photograph of a whiteboard in my classroom. This is a picture from around 2019, and it's the sentence frames my students would need to write a body paragraph of a comparative analysis essay. So just to orient you to what you're seeing, that yellow bar across the top is the different parts of the paragraph students would need. And then underneath each of those is the sentence frames they would use to sort of introduce that part of their paragraph. This is part of teaching 9th graders about writing analytically and writing academically. Now, we didn't teach this unit for about 4 or 5 years, and we've just circled back to it. And my colleague and I were getting ready to teach it again, but I'm in a new classroom now. I don't have a giant long whiteboard like that one anymore. I don't have a way to display that. And I certainly did not want to spend all the time rewriting all those sentence frames, either on poster paper or on the wall or on the whiteboard that I do have. And so I remembered that I had this photograph, and I wondered if there was an easy way to get this into a Google Doc. And my student teacher said, I'll just type it for you. And I said, I think we can do better. So I went to Claude and I gave it the photograph. So I'm going to use, so Claude.ai is a little bit like ChatGPT. It's another chatbot. It's probably my favorite, my usual go-to. I'm going to attach that picture. So now Claude has the image. And I'm going to use this prompt. And I'm pasting it in so you don't have to watch me type it. But it says I have an image of a whiteboard that I use to help my 9th graders with a writing project. I want to extract the text from the image and convert it to Markdown so that I can put it in a Google Doc. And I'll tell you more about Markdown in a minute. I also want to pivot the text so that the headings in the yellow banner are in a column on the left. The sentence frames are in the right. This will create a 2-column table that I'll add to a Google Doc and share with my students more easily. What do you still need to know to help me do this? Now let's see. This is live. Let's see what Claude says about this today. So we're going to click enter. And it says, dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's not asking me questions. It's just doing it. There we go. So it has read my picture and it is giving me those frames. And you'll notice if you can see it, I don't know if you can see it in the screen share because it's probably kind of small, but it has things like BR and there's carrots and things like that. And so this is in what's called Markdown language, which is sort of the way things talk to each other. And if you've ever had the experience of adding something to a Google Doc, let me go back a few slides in here. When you first paste it in, it looks something like this, right? When you paste your text in, and that's probably stopped a lot of people. Like they heard that they could use ChatGPT to save themselves a lot of time, and ChatGPT generated something for them, and you went and pasted it into a Google Doc, and it looked like this, and had all these hashtags and asterisks and things like that that are not helpful. Well, there's something you can do about that. You can enable Markdown. So when you paste in that text and it looks terrible, you go to Tools, Preferences, Enable Markdown. We're going to do this live in a second, but this is the GIF. And now when you paste in that text, it's going to look like it's supposed to. All right. So let's try this in a real live Google Doc. We've got our answer from Claude, and we're going to copy that. I'm just going to click the little clipboard here to copy it. I'm going to go to my Google Doc, and I'll paste it in. And as you can see, it's not fabulous. It's got all those BRs and things like that in there. That's not what we want. So we're going to just back that out. Tools, Preferences, Enable Markdown. Okay. Now I'm going to try something. It's going to fail, and then I'm going to try again. You'll see. Watch. Let's see. So I'm going to go to Edit, and Edit, you can paste from Markdown. And it's going to tell me, hey, you need to turn this thing on. I'm like, no, I don't. Cancel that. And now when I paste it, it pasted in my table without any of the Markdown language. Now, because it was part of Claude's answer that I copied, it has Claude's actual answer. So I'll just delete that. Don't need that. And I'll probably need to like drag this over a little bit so that it's like spaced a little bit better. But now I have a Google Doc that I can give to my students to share those sentence frames without having to recreate that picture on a whiteboard somewhere. And I didn't have to retype it either. So that is my little demo. And the trick about enabling Markdown, and just in case you wanted to see that again, Tools, Preferences, and you want to click this one here that says Enable Markdown. If you have a Google Doc open in another tab, you can go do that now. It'll save you a lot of time when you use material created by AI. All right, I'll stop that.
Thank you, Jen. Huge thank you to our panelists for these incredible demos. We're going to pivot into a little bit of Q&A, which means we want to hear from all of you. Any last questions that you have, please drop them into Zoom's Q&A feature and we can start to chat about them. First one, where would you advise a teacher who wants to begin to lean into AI, but is easily overwhelmed by all the options out there to start? Where's a good entry point, so to speak? I'd love to start with you with this one, Michelle.
I find the most user-friendly. Any one of the tools that I had on my slide, Diffit, like you just saw, Magic School, School AI, and they each have their own training platform where you can log in, you can search, and they walk you through the course at your own pace. There's tutorial videos, they walk you through it. So just pick one. They're all fabulous. So pick one that you're comfortable with and dedicate some time, and I promise you will save time on the other end. I know you don't have time, but if you could find some time, you'll save time on the other end.
Jen, I'd love to hear a little bit from you. Good entry point.
Start with something that's meant for teachers, right? Like start with something easy, like a Magic School or a Brisk or a Diffit. Just get comfortable with that one tool and what it can do for you. All of those are using a ChatGPT or a Claude AI on the back end. But until you know exactly how to ask AI to do what you want to do, it helps to start with a tool that's going to help you tell you what to ask for. And Magic School will give you prompts that have like, you know, tell me your grade level, tell me what you're trying to do, tell me this, tell me that. It'll ask you all the right questions so that you're ready to go. And someone in the chat asked for the doc that I just created with all the sentence frames. I'm about to drop the link to that, so you can have that. Here you go. This hopefully is that Google Doc that I just made with those sentence frames. They said they were teaching the same thing. So there you go.
Perfect. Eric, what are some best practices to ensure that AI use doesn't reduce students' critical thinking skills?
So this is the exact type of prompt that I would type into an AI like Claude or ChatGPT. Some of the things I'll put in there is, how do I make this assessment AI resistant? Or how can I have students use this, do this assessment as a tool without reducing their critical thinking skills? And so I think it depends on the level of cognition we're going for. When we're going for students to be able to synthesize and transfer information, having them incorporate creative thinking into their projects. So for instance, they just learned about medical conditions and how it affects the body. I had them create a Netflix show or a Disney Plus show. I gave them a Canva template. They had to go up and give me their pitch on the show. And every episode had to show me that they understood their condition in the way that the episode was written. So they did telenovelas, they did horror, they did, Shrek and John Cena, they did all kinds of different stories. But they had to take the content and actually make something of it. And that's something that would be really challenging for AI to do, especially if they personalize it. But I would recommend to a teacher, if you are comfortable enough using one of the language learning models like a ChatGPT or Claude, put in your assessment and ask it, how can I modify this so that it's not as easy to complete using AI? And let that be your starting point, especially if you're concerned about cheating and things like that.
Jen, is there a particular tool you're using to help with grading that you like?
My district is paying for Writable. And in full disclosure, the board voted to pay for Writable beginning in the spring of 2022. And it did not have AI assisted scoring when they approved it. So that was a new feature. So when I found that feature and began using it and talking about how exciting it was, and reporters went back to our board members and said, "What is this you approved?" And they went, "We don't know." That was kind of fun. School politics, always great. But it's been really helpful, and my students like it. And people always ask me, like, do your students get worried that you're using AI grading? I'm like, I'm not using AI grading. I'm using AI assisted grading. That's a difference. It's not a black box. I'm still reading their work. I'm still approving the score. I'm still approving the feedback. And then when they get that feedback, they can revise and resubmit if they want to. And what's happened is that shortened my time, right? Instead of spending, a week to grade 70 paragraphs, I'm doing it in 2 or 3 days. And so I'm getting more revisions from my students because they're getting their work back sooner. And their only complaint is, why is it not instant? Like, why do we have to wait for you to approve it? They just want it now. And that's where Magic School and particularly Magic Student has come in handy, because I've been able to allow them an instant AI feedback tool that they can look at and read and decide if it's helping them or not. So the kids are eager for AI feedback most of the time and really appreciate it.
Eric, has that been your experience?
I want to tag on to that. Absolutely. So when I use the AI feedback transparently with students, they know that I'm using it. And we know in the research that when students get feedback early and often, they're more likely to iterate and revise. But once you put a grade on there, they're less likely to go back and update. We know that. We've researched it. We know it. When the problem that it's created for me is exactly what Jen said. When my students are doing a CER and they're writing and putting evidence in there, they come up to me and they say, "Mr. Cross, can I get feedback?" And I'll have a queue of students that share docs with me and I'm giving feedback. And then I'll let them see, they're like, "Mr. Cross, you're using AI." And I was like, "Yes, I want you to look at it, but I also want you to look at the feedback that it's giving you and see if you agree with it. See if you would critique it." Now, they know that when I finally grade it, my timeline is much longer. I need at least 10 days because I need to go through it in more detail. But I said, this is going to catch the things that are maybe the more obvious grammar issues or clarity issues to help you. And so I'm able to model for them how to use it as a tool versus how to use it to substitute your thinking. And since it's modeled for them, they're more likely to use it that way. And then they do want to get better. But we need to show them how to do it. They need to show what it looks like and not to be afraid of that. So yes, the problem that I have now is students want feedback and they think it's
Michelle, someone's asking, how can I ensure that AI tools do not widen educational gaps between students with varying abilities?
I think the purpose of AI is to counteract that. Using AI, we hear differentiation, and some people think they have to create 26 worksheets for the 26 students in your class. So as far as AI, it will generate content for the students' needs. And if you're asking as far as AI usage for students who might not have access to it, I'm viewing that question from 2 different points of view, spreading the gap. But most AI tools are free or free to certain usage. So if they can go to the library where they have access to computer technology, it is very user friendly too. So that's a very broad question. I'm not quite sure how to address it.
Jen, I'd love to ask for your perspective, then Eric, I'd love for your perspective as well. Which sort of administrative tasks would you use AI for? Do you use AI for? And which ones would you say you don't use it for? How do you sort of differentiate there? Ooh, Jen,
Oh,
you're
Jen, you're muted.
I was typing something and I didn't want to like get my mic. My mic picks up a lot of things. Um, so I'm never quite sure what people mean by administrative tasks, like what they're talking about. But I mean, if you mean like, do I use it to help me write a better email response to a parent? Not often. Usually my responses to parents are super specific to their kids, and I'm not using AI for that. A lot of people say, I use it to write email. I'm like, really? Because my emails are short, sweet, and we're not spending a lot of time there. I have used it to write sort of like newsletter things. And I've used it to write grant proposals. That's been fun. There's a, oh, you can't see it in that picture. There's a new color printer in my classroom because of a grant proposal, right? There's more books in my classroom because I've used AI to write grant proposals. And that has been super helpful in real, actual, tangible ways that impacted my students because now they have more books and they can print in color. So those kind of administrative tasks, it's helpful for. Um, I've also used it to revise, like make things look better in my Canvas course. Canvas is HTML based, so I give it the HTML of a Canvas page that I'm perfectly happy with, but I say, can you make it prettier? And Claude AI will give me fresh HTML and it's prettier. And it's also been helping me revise directions for kids because I know that I get wordy and when I'm grading something and I keep writing, please see directions, please see directions, please see directions, got to acknowledge that maybe the directions are the problem. So I'll give Claude the directions for the tasks that I gave the kids and say, these are the misconceptions they're having. These are the errors I'm seeing in their work. Can you help me revise this assignment to make more sense to them? And it gives me back a version I have to acknowledge, like, yeah, you're right, that's better. And I give that to my students and I say, look, I know you guys are having trouble with this. So I spent an hour last night revising it. And they're like, wow, Mr. Roberts, you really care. I'm like, I'm kidding, I used AI. But they're still happy because they get a better assignment, right? So it makes more sense to them and it comes across more clearly. So those are, I guess, some examples of administrative tasks that teachers do that are super helpful and make life better for my students.
Yeah. Anything to add, Eric, where you use it, where you don't use it?
I probably use it for more administrative tasks in my personal life than I do in my professional. My email replies at this point are pretty short and to the point. In my personal life, if I need to contact a service that is not treating my bills properly, I might I might need AI to help me generate a letter to them because I don't want to sit for hours and type that. But one of the things I'll ask is, I'm serving populations of students that I may not share common backgrounds with. And I'm asking, how do I modify this science lesson to make it more responsive to the students that I serve? And get some ideas from that. Facilitate discussion questions around a certain topic. Or I'll put something in that says, I have these supplies, create a lab on buoyancy using just the supplies that I have. These are real, like, kind of practical things that I can do. And it creates some great labs. It at least gives me ideas of somebody that I can talk to. And I'm the only person that teaches science on my grade level team. So I don't have a partner to push off of. So a lot of times when I'm trying to work out and flesh out ideas, I can put my ideas into ChatGPT or into Claude and do that and get some ideas back. But as far as administration, like spreadsheets and things like that, maybe I might have it synthesize a roster and divide students up, make groupings based on, Lexile levels or any other kind of data. But I think for the most part, for my admin work, it's going to be outside of the classroom. In the classroom, it's going to be a lot of, new ideas for curriculum, ways to differentiate, or sometimes sentence starters and sentence frames for having difficult conversations. Like sometimes that's what it is.
Michelle, what do you do when AI invents quotes, hallucinates, generates wrong answers to quizzes? How do you sort of vet those outputs?
Oh, we actually had a doozy last summer. One AI came up with that AIDS cause diabetes, something ridiculous that the health teacher caught. So, of course, anything that's generated by AI, you need to vet. Just like if you download something from Teacher Paid Teachers, or if you're looking for a video from YouTube, we have to put eyes on everything. It's not going to do our job for us. So, it's just a matter of sometimes it's redefining your prompt, like the other moderators had said earlier. You have to learn how to use AI, and the more you use the AI, it learns you too. So, being very specific in your prompts and just playing with it, getting more familiar with it. But of course, eyes on everything. AI is just a springboard to help you get started.
This is a big question. It'll be our last question. I'll float it to Eric and then we can see if we have time. I love these ideas, this person said, but how do we reconcile this with the ethical concerns around the environmental and copyright issues?
This is the ongoing conversation that we have to have. I mean, we need to, one, I think we need accurate information about what's actually happening as far as the environmental issues and the impact of that with, are we referring to like the data centers and the cooling and the water? Yeah, things like that. It becomes a much bigger conversation. If we isolate and just look at this technology and its impact, but we don't look at everything else that we're doing, I think we're kind of doing a disservice. Everything that whether it's what we consume, the cars that we drive, the shows that we watch, all of these things have an impact. But what's the trade-off? I think that's the question that we have to ask. Right now we're using AI to figure out new protein folds so we can come up with cures for all kinds of diseases that we couldn't have before, which is accelerated advancements in medicine. That's a really important use of it. But you also have another side of it where it can be used for folks that may not having the same ethical and moral values that we have. And again, like any technology, it can be used for good or it can be used to do harm. And this is something that's kind of still unfolding. For me personally, I think that it's a net benefit for society. And we need to learn about it. We need to figure it out. We need to ask these hard questions. As far as copyright's concerned, yeah, that's a tough area. Where does it? We have AI art, we have AI music, we have AI writing. Where does it fall in line as far as copyrights and originality? That's a great question. I don't know where that is, but I think it's an important one. I know society, we're already having it. I've generated some AI music that was scary good. I was like, I would listen to this whole playlist of this fictional artist that I just created, and some art that was really, really good. So yeah, I wish I had the answer to that one. I don't. It's a great question.
That's part of the beauty of tonight. Is my hope is that the conversations that began here, I hope many of you who are watching this will take them back into your communities and continue them. I think Jen said at the beginning, we can't address everything and we can't address everything in full detail, but we can start and have the kernels of those conversations and they can grow within your communities, which is the power of this sort of space. And as our night draws to a close, I want to extend my gratitude to our panelists for sharing their time and insights with all of us tonight. I want to close the loop very quickly with all of you. At the top of the webinar, we asked how you felt about AI in education. And I want to do a last check-in in the chat as we close out and ask if you can share or reflect privately on how you feel now. What's one word that now describes how you feel about AI in education? Otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you so much. I'll pass the mic back to my colleagues.
Yeah, let's give a hand to our host and panelists. Thank you so much, Michelle, Eric, Jen, and Paige. And thanks to all of you for joining us this evening. So I actually have a little surprise for you. I'm trying to show you. 5 of you have been randomly selected to receive a Wired Classroom t-shirt. The winners are Ann Thorpe, Daniela Barra, Isha Fanyal, Leanna Watson, and Robert Schoen. So please keep an eye on your email. We're going to message you to get your information so we can send those shirts to you. If you found the information in this Edutopia session helpful, then may I recommend our newsletter, The Wired Classroom. It's a highly practical monthly roundup covering the ways educators are using tech to save time, improve assessment, and boost student engagement in their classrooms. It's free and always will be, just like all the resources that Edutopia offers. You can sign up using the QR code here or the link in the chat. And there's just one last thing I want to ask of you before we wrap up, and that is your feedback. Another link will drop in the chat. Sorry that you have to navigate all those, but we will also send the link in a follow-up email. We plan to host more of these sessions in the future, and we'd love to know how we can improve the experience for you and which topics would be most useful. So thanks again for joining us for Edutopia Sessions, Reclaiming Time with AI. Have a good night.